Hey, Paul. Let's see.
Hello, John.
Having trouble with my sound. Just a minute.
No problem.
Okay, how's that? Can you hear me?
Hear you fine.
Okay, good. All righty. I guess what we'll do, Paul, is do you want me to just show the slides from here, right, that we have?
Yes, please.
Okay, and then you'll just kind of tell me how to advance them as you need to and so forth?
Sounds great.
Okay. All right. Well, I actually joined about 5:30 my time here, Mountain Time, because I'm still mentally in California. So hopefully I'll figure this out someday. Oh man, I'll tell you, I spent some time going through some of the other YouTube videos,
Yeah.
about the landing pattern and all kinds of stuff that they had. It's incredible.
Yeah. I watched that video you sent me of Al Haynes.
Oh my, yeah, he's up there with Scully.
Yeah. Well,
Amazing.
Scully was at his memorial service.
Was he?
Yep. And he spoke at the service.
He was very skilled at how he explained the whole thing. And I'm not a aviator, but I could understand exactly what he was talking about.
Yeah.
It is amazing. So we'll do some business, before we get started. And then I've got you scheduled for kind of after we do the business and regular stuff. Then so you'll kind of be at the end. And Paul Mayer had talked about maybe doing a presentation, but I don't know if he's going to or not. So he might be after you, but he will just play it by ear.
Okay, sounds good. We'll improvise.
Name of the game, huh?
Do.
The name of the game. So, I was wondering, you did when you got out, before you got into communications and so forth, you played your trumpet professionally on those gigs, or was that before you came to the academy?
That was before I came to the academy.
Oh, okay.
So
after you left the academy, you got right into the world of, like you said, communications, what I called it. And so
yeah, television, primarily. Well, even while I was, Pat Tully got me into this thing.
What? Really?
Yeah, because he was going to Columbia School of Broadcasting.
I remember that. What's he doing now?
Yep, and I thought, oh, that'd be fun to do. And at the time, Tully had a radio show on KCME.
Really?
Yep.
Well, have you been in touch with him? Do you know where he's at?
Nobody's been able to track him down. So last I heard he was in Arizona, but, I've done Google searches and, his roommate, Steve Ceruto, lives here in Manitou Springs, and Steve doesn't know where he's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. 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 Well, I remember, Pat, going into that, remember how the guys kind of teased him about, his radio voice and all
Yeah.
that. Oh, well, this is crazy. Well, I hope there's more than you and me because we got 3 minutes right now.
Yeah.
No, there will be. I sent out a reminder today. I don't know if you saw it, but I sent them out your Nightline video link.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that generates any more interest. Oh, there's Al.
There's
Al.
Al.
Hey, Al.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
Oh, hanging in there for an old fart,
Hey, we're glad you could.
Some other stuff cleared out of the way, so.
Glad you could join us instead of going to the hospital or whatever tonight.
Well, for some reason, I'm losing you here, so.
All right. Well.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
We're back. Spike, you're muted. There you go. You're muted, buddy.
How you guys doing? Hey, Spike. Hi, Paul.
Hello.
Hey, Paul, I didn't get a chance to look at the whole 1 year thing on Nightline. I only got a chance to look about half of it, but I can't imagine what you were going through.
Well, the first half of that we're going to run tonight. And of course, since you guys have the link, you can watch the rest of it whenever you want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Hey,
that's
Spike.
incredible. Hey,
Hey.
Spike.
Yeah. How you guys doing?
Good. We got you.
Okay. Got you too.
It kind of looks like you've got a propeller head on there with your getting ready to take off.
I do. That's my helicopter waiting to take me to my jet plane.
There's Mike.
Leaving on a jet plane, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds like a good song.
Might have something there.
Hey, there's Tim. Hey, Tim.
John,
Well,
Hey,
Mr.
Bill.
Baker.
can everybody hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here you
I
go.
like the mellophone in the background, Tim.
It's actually a marching alto horn. I'm gonna make a lamp out of it.
Oh, is that? I'm surprised you're not playing it.
I was
Oh.
at an HOA Zoom meeting a couple nights ago and nobody could hear me. And are not very well, so I decided to ask. So how's
Oh, we
everybody-
got you. Mike, we got you. Can you hear us?
Yep, how you guys doing?
Good. John, you're muted. Unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi, guys.
Hey, buddy.
Hello.
I like the sweatshirt, John.
Go
There's
Broncos.
There's Tony.
The shirt's nice. The team sucks.
I feel the same way about the Eagles.
Yeah.
How about them Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Okay. They suck.
Well, they got a lousy quarterback.
Oh man. So Tom, do you know is Roy he's gonna be late, he said, huh?
Yeah, good possibility he will be late. I think Al and I can speak to that though.
Okay,
Oh,
I
yeah, I
got
think
that on
we
the
can cover some of it.
I got that on the agenda. We'll bring it up in some business.
Okay, just for a warning, John, I may have to get off a little bit early. I'm no longer volunteering at the hospital, but I am volunteering for a local veterans group. And we have a
Okay.
presentation for the city council tonight. So around 7 or so, I may have to drop off Pacific time. So hour and a half.
Well, okay, we'll be
But if I have to drop off and you're in the middle of something, I'll just drop off and not worry about it. So,
okay, we'll be emailing out the recording. Okay.
Al,
okay.
where are you living now?
I'm in Kingman, Arizona, in northwestern Arizona.
Oh,
It's up in the Mojave County. We're about an hour and a half south of Las Vegas, about 2.5 hours southwest of the Grand Canyon.
Pretty neat.
My younger brother's in Kingman
It's
also.
just different. I mean, we were in Colorado Springs for so long, and my wife just said she was tired of the snow and the cold and all that stuff, and we heard about this place in Arizona, and very reasonable pricing as far as housing and all that stuff.
Yeah, I
So
know,
about 3 years ago, we moved here.
I know what she means. I got tired of the cold and the snow out there too.
Oh, yeah. I miss it a little bit. I miss more of the people in Colorado Springs. And I mean, with Paul and Joanne, we'd get together once in a while, and John and Cindy and Bill and Bonnie Carlson and everybody. I mean, we were all, every once in a while we just got together and told old war stories.
Yeah.
So.
I'm still getting used to having ice in my drink and not on my road.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, we miss you, Al.
Hey,
Well, it's funny because, when I think back of all the things that I know on that one presentation I did several months ago, I moved all over the place, and I really miss going to the rehearsals with Tim for that seniors band, and going to the Latigo Boulevard place to eat there, not too far down from Bill and Bonnie or from our house. And when you guys would come over, and then we'd go up to Monument area and we'd run into Paul someplace or try to run over him or whatever, So miss that whole group. I really do. So,
well,
but as they say, the world turns. So.
yeah, Jeff, you're muted, and it looks like we had George. Oh, there he is. George, you're over there. Can you hear us okay, everybody?
Yep,
Okay.
I hear you just
It looks
fine.
like Cutterelli is trying to join us.
Okay. Hey, Mr. Foster, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Who said that?
Al.
That's
Ruat.
Al.
Oh, there you are. It's too many faces to look at, It's
I thought you were slipping away for a second, Ray.
Ray, did you get an implant in today?
Well, there's the second stage. They put the post in today.
Okay.
So now it's another 6 months and they'll put it on,
Well, we were hoping you wouldn't be able to talk, but you never know.
Wait a second. Now Crowder should be able to mute everybody or people in particular.
You guys don't treat me nice, I'll mute you.
Okay, I'm not going to talk anymore. Okay.
Don't say that.
Except to John Dye, because he's pretty cool. So,
Thank you.
Hey, Ben Cutterelli, you're muted and we can't see you, just in case you don't know.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, John.
Okay, we got you.
Yeah. Okay. My webcam, for some reason, I've been having issues with it, so I'm working on resolving that. But right now, it's just a white screen.
Okay, that's all right. We can hear you now. We got you.
Gotcha. Carry on, please.
Jeff, how you doing? We can't hear you. You're muted.
I'm muted on purpose because I got a dog barking and
Can you hear me now?
everything going on. So.
All right, we appreciate your thinking about us.
John, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll work on the webcam, but no big deal. I'll be listening.
Good. All right. Well, guys, I don't know that probably waiting much longer is going to bring on anybody else. Bob Zarfas, good to have you with us tonight.
Thank you.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
Tom. Good to see you.
So maybe what we could do is kind of start off, kind of have an agenda, but you know how loose they are. So, but we are recording this meeting tonight, and we'll get it emailed out for the other guys or yourselves, like if Al's got to drop off early or whatever. So we'll get that out. So let me pull up my sharing options here, and I'll go ahead and pull things up. And now you probably see my screen. Is that right?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to go with, of course, we have the grand opening as we normally do.
That's cool.
And I always got to try and figure out new things to keep you guys interested. So here's Bob. Whenever you come up with a different picture, we'll be glad to replace it.
Yeah, I got a bunch of them. I just have been lazy getting them to you.
No.
But having seen the picture of your Corps and the old one there of the DC Corps about 1950 or 51, had breakfast yesterday or brunch yesterday with Ricardo Gabriel. And Gabe was telling a story about when the DC Corps was performing at a national contest, and these guys came up and said to him, "Boy, you guys are really good, but your uniforms suck." And so immediately we said, "Yeah, they had much better uniforms out at the academy. You guys look really sharp."
Well,
Blame it on the cadets.
okay, those were pretty nice until we started outgrowing them, Bob. Some of us got a little too thick for those uniforms.
Yeah, we were all pretty skinny back then, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, here's now this kind of we go over it, but I've kind of made a few comments here. John is alive and well, and he's been joining us, so he's not on the missing list anymore. But is there anybody else that we need to update on out of that list?
I have an address for George Fennell and also Greg Likens.
Oh, okay.
And I've got those. Hey, John
You got
Crowder.
them, Tom?
Yeah.
I've got them.
Okay.
You got him?
Yep.
Okay. Here's a question for, you've got Greg. Somebody's got Greg's address, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What about, let's see. Here's some more. Is anybody else new on there come up?
I think I have Tully.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have John Brodsky on this list? Is this the?
John Brodsky passed away.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm on the wrong list, huh?
Yeah, I think
So
I
did-
figured that out, Spike.
So did Gary Robbins,
Oh, he did?
I believe, a long time ago.
That's what they told me.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever really specified.
We need to maybe update this then, Tom, right?
Yep,
Is
I've
that-
actually got them both sitting here. I just didn't get around to it because I've actually been doing work the last little while. So
Well, and Gil
Okay.
McDonald, I know we have a date on him, don't we?
Earthbrook is dead too.
Yeah, Gil, there's some dates, yeah, for them. I have a question for you guys, or Tom maybe, but Rich is on both of our rolls right now. He's on
right,
this.
because a lot of folks, well, several folks said that he's gone, but nobody's ever really like verified that. So
Is that is the correct spelling of his last name?
yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna write it down. I'll see if I've been wanting to find him.
He was in Massachusetts at some point, I believe.
Really?
Well, he
Well,
was
when we were
from
up there for the
Massachusetts.
Macy parade, he took me over to Long Island, I guess, or whatever.
His wife's name was Darlene, but now I
That's
don't know
right.
if they got divorced later or how
Yeah.
that goes. But
He-
but Darlene
that-
was his wife at the time.
Has anybody found Bill Cadwell?
No, that goes back to your question, Jeff, about the spelling of his last name. And you're right. If somebody's got a set of orders like John Dye and somebody else has them, look for Bill Caldwell on there, would you please?
I don't have them. Mine don't go back that far.
Hey, how about Dwight Youthy? Remember Dwight?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see his name coming up on anything.
I heard that Dwight's just not interested in being in touch.
Okay.
He had gone back to
Somehow I understand that for some reason.
Thanks so much, Mike.
That's okay.
Makes you want travel to Philly now and you're not there.
Yeah. No.
All right. So, are there any other names? I guess what we should do is, Tom, do you need some help with this? Because you're juggling a lot
No,
of.
I don't need help with it. If you got any information, send it. The ones you've been talking about, I think I already have. It's like somebody said, Mark Halleck is still around, but he really doesn't want to have anything to do with anybody at this point in time with the Corps.
That's correct. He's still here at the Springs, I believe.
Yeah, and
Bill Wood.
I just need to spend a couple of hours cleaning this up because I've got the masters here on my machine.
Okay. Well, if anybody knows of anybody, like I was talking with Paul Olivier earlier, and he said that he'd kind of been in touch for a while with Pat Tully because they were both doing some similar kinds of career things, and he was in Arizona. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah, that's the last place I heard of him being, but I haven't heard anything since.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Bill
and I was
Wood.
going to say there's actually another Tully that was with, I think, the Air Force Corps. FJ Tully.
Which Tully was with you guys?
Pat.
Really?
Tully.
There were two Pat Tullys? Oh, my God.
Pat Tully.
Hey, I'm gonna look for AJ, the death date on AJ too.
If
Okay.
you find it, shoot it to me, and like I said, I've got the master, and I'll just make the changes to it. And I do
Okay.
apologize to one and all. I just haven't gotten to it to do it.
Yeah, I have
John?
addresses on both Tullys, by the way, Tom.
Pardon?
I have addresses for both Tullys.
Yeah, I got one of them. You got addresses for both Tullys?
Yeah.
Wow.
Shoot it over.
Bob, you're the man.
It's not,
Hey, I know
Is that
Bill.
what you call multitasking? Totally tasking?
Yeah, one's a photographer and the other probably is not.
Yeah.
I
I'll be
know
right
Bill
back.
Bill
I'll be right
Wooten
back.
passed away a couple years ago.
Yep, he did.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So before we move into some other things, let's take care of some of our business tonight. And this is what I wanted to show is any of you guys know who that is?
Yeah, that's Ray Halper.
Ray Huntler.
Yeah.
Oh,
So recently we had an email that went out. Unfortunately, his son passed away. And if you guys remember, I responded to him and said, "How are you doing?" and invited him to join us and stuff. And, he gave me this reply back, and I thought I'd share it with you guys because it kind of gives a little history. I don't know if you guys all knew this about him. It's hard to read probably for you, so I'll kind of fill you in on what it says. He says, you asked about what we did after the academy. He said, I was in the band at Ramstein, Germany for 4 years before he auditioned by tape. He said, we arrived at the academy in June of '68 and left in February of '72. And then, sorry about that. Spent 2 years with the band at Keesler Air Force Base and back to Ramstein for 5 years with the U.S. Air Force Europe Band. He came back to the band at McGuire, then up here to the band of I guess that's the Northeast?
New England. Pease Air Force Base is in New Hampshire.
New England, okay, at Peace Air Force Base. He said, I lucked out and made chief at 20 and spent my last 10 years as the band manager of the band of New England. Then we moved the band to Hanscom in Boston. I retired from Hanscom in '93 with 30 years and 21.
Wow.
So that's what he did after the academy. So anyway, it was nice to hear from him, and I had no idea that he had made that complete a career in music out of after he left. So I thought that was interesting.
And he also ends up running a vessel also. And I don't know if he was the captain or the whatever anyway, but driving a vessel on the water, on the open water.
Yeah, he is a captain of one of the tourist boats around Portsmouth.
Really?
Spike,
Yeah.
Spike, yeah, important. They're in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, I believe. And Spike and I spoke not too terribly long ago. Spike, maybe you can tell them about. I'm just intruding here. Spend 30 seconds and tell them about Ray and Ellen and their son.
Well, Ray and I were road roomies after Jim Wade got out, and we spent a lot of time. The last 2 years out there, I was married. We spent a lot of time with Ray and Ellen. They had 2 kids, and the boy that the notice was about that died, Kenny. Of course, when I knew him, he was, very, very young. I think he was 5 years old. And he was one of the smartest kids I'd ever seen. He scared me to death. I was afraid to talk to him. Great kid. I really, really sad to hear that they lost him. He was a great kid. Well, let me tell you one story. The last time that I saw Kenny was when we were leaving the academy, and we went down to Ray and Ellen's. They were on base housing, and Ellen was making some sandwiches or something for us to take out on the road. And a package that she had ordered came in the mail while we were there. And what it was a thing to help her with shaping up and losing weight and so forth. But it was a belt that she would put around her abdomen. But while she was explaining to us, she couldn't say abdomen. It kept coming out abominable. And Kenny, this little 5-year-old kid, comes over to her and starts pulling on her skirt, and he says, "No, Mom, that's a snowman."
Abominable snowman.
Maybe you can see why I was afraid to talk to him. He was a short little boy.
Well, I imagine he was a young adult, right? When he passed?
Oh, had to be in his 50s. Yeah.
He was 53 or 54.
Yeah.
What did he die from?
The Madison alumni group posted the link to his obituary, and he also ends up being the captain of a vessel too, and actually ran the major ship out of Woods Hole for that group.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
interesting.
So Spike, when you said that it was suggested he didn't find himself, I think he probably did after all those years.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. Anyway, if I can find that link again, I'll shoot it to you, knowing you guys are close.
Cool.
What did he die from? What did he die from?
Nobody has said.
We don't know.
Oh.
All right. Well,
I'm not
Morvik,
going to ask.
glad you joined us, Bob.
I'm sorry?
I'm glad you joined us, Bob. I can't see you, but I'm glad I hear you. I know that.
Why can't you see me?
Because I'm looking at the presentation screen.
Well, don't look that. Look at me, damn it.
I'd call that a blessing.
Or that's the best you've ever looked. Okay.
Hey, John, it gets my patootie.
All right, moving along. Hey, I was able to catch the Jack Mouse concert. Did any of you guys catch that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh man, it was good. And I mean, seriously, if you ever have a chance to listen to some of his jazz stuff, I mean, it's good. And his wife she's a really good singer, scat singer, and it was really well done. And I think if you have a chance, they sell their music, their albums and stuff, but it was good to see him. He's looking good, better than he used to.
You would know.
But yeah, all these musicians were just they were great. They were pretty amazing concert. So I thought I'd just remind you guys about that. Tom, I added him. I think we should try to add him to our email list in case.
He's on it.
Is
He's
he?
on it. Yes, he and I have communicated any number of times.
Okay, very cool. All right, and then
There he is. Hey, Jack, how you doing?
Hey, how you guys?
Just talking about him and he shows up. Boy, that's
wait,
scary.
is that Jack?
Yeah, he's right there.
Hey,
Hey,
gentlemen.
hey, Jack.
It's good to be with you.
Use that term loosely, don't you?
Well, Jack, it's great to have you on. I enjoyed your concert. What can you tell us about how things going for you?
Wow. We don't have that kind of time. Things are going well. We just finished a little tour out in Kansas and had a great time. Had a great band with me, and my wife is just an amazing singer, and so we just keep plugging away, trying to keep up with the youngsters.
Well, I caught your concert there, streaming, and yeah, your wife is fantastic, and your drum solo when you first started off blew me away. That was pretty cool.
Oh, thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
You spend enough time listening to me bang away on a practice pad.
I know. Well, yeah, I mean, you were determined and passionate, so it certainly paid off for you. You've got a great career.
I've been very lucky.
Hi, Jack. How you doing, man?
That's
hey,
right,
Ray,
Foster.
how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there.
There you go.
Us Kansas boys, we just kind of hang out.
I guess so. We were just like I was just telling John and the guys. We were just back there. We got back Monday night. I guess we were out there and did a concert to the Emporia Granada and had a great time.
Yeah, I just missed you then because I was in Kansas City with my guys that meet every year over there that I graduated high school with, and
wow.
And I picked up a guy in Wichita and drove up by Emporius where we always stop to get gas. And so.
Well, Ray, the people who musically raised me in Emporia were very good friends of Elton's.
Oh.
Of your dad, the Lenigans.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Bob and Rosalie. Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're from Great Bend, right?
No, Emporia.
Oh, you're from Emporia.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It was Springfields actually. They were just right outside, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bob and Rosalie were really good friends with your dad and your.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a great man. Of course, I'm very prejudiced, but I've got 3 trombones now. My 88H that Dad bought for me in '57.
Oh my God.
And my dad's 6H that he got in. He had several horns, but he last had this 6H from it's a 76 model, I believe.
Wow.
Con. And then my son's, he's a trombone player, so I've got his Irby Green model. So I've got a stash of horns. I'm playing his for this jazz concert we're doing next 3 weeks from now or so.
Oh, wow.
Using a Marcinkiewicz mouthpiece on it, man, it just matches up beautiful,
Hey, Jack, are you guys going to be doing any more of those streaming concerts?
That was the first time we've ever done anything like that, and it's kind of a learning experience. We learned a lot. Had some sound issues that we know how to take care of from now on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think nothing is like being there. Nothing is like being there live.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of folks like yourself who couldn't be there. We had a lot of friends in Europe that that jumped on and heard the concert and some things like that. So, yeah, I think it's the next best thing to be in there. I hope.
So,
Wow.
Jack, this is Tom
Mike
Wells.
Steinell. Mike Steinell's on your group. Wow.
Yeah, Mike and I go back. Well, his dad, Conrad, was the band director at Emporia High School.
Okay.
And Mike, when Mike moved up here in the mid '80s, he formed the Chicago Jazz Quintet with he and I and Bill Sears and Kelly Sill and Frank Mantooth.
Frank was in there. Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. Frank was.
You know, he lived in Garden City. He was an artist in
I
residence
know.
there for a while.
Yeah.
He was just a great guy. I got to know him there. I mean, I knew who he was and at the academy, but yeah, it was a very interesting and sadly sad ending.
It's great.
Yeah,
Ball.
yeah.
But Mike and I hooked up there, and when we put this tour together, I thought, wow, he just retired from North Texas. He was down there for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, "You want to do some battle again?" And he said, "Absolutely." He says, "I'll be there." So it was great to have him on the concert again. You know.
Oh yeah.
Hey Jack,
Wow.
hey Jack, you coming south in Atlanta maybe?
You know, we'd love to. We don't have any contacts down there. I don't know what. I'm not sure.
You got one.
What
You got one. I live in Atlanta.
Oh, I hear a voice. I don't see a face, but
What's the problem here?
You're blessed if you don't
I'd
see
recognize
the
that
I can't
anywhere.
see anybody but the person that's talking. So I'm doing something wrong. I have no idea.
I'm not doing it, Bob.
Can you not see me at all, really?
I was going through
No,
some.
just a blank screen, Bob.
Well, I'm
Through some
sorry.
old photos.
It's just a green screen. Yeah.
That's a better screen, Bob. I like that one.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
So,
I heard that.
What is the deal?
Jack, now, serious question. Tom Wells here. So is there any way, I could not attend even via live stream. Is there any way of viewing the concert after the fact?
You know, we're looking into that. The company took it down, but the camera crew that was there seems to think that there may be a way we can get that play put up again.
Okay, or even if you've got a recording on it that you sell or whatever you do. I realize, you know.
I'll let you. I'll keep you posted. Like I say, this was kind of an experiment for us. We'd never done anything like that. So, but I was telling the guys that I started going through some old photos the other day, and found old USAFA drum corps photos, man, that are great. In fact, John, I've got a picture of you and I and Moravec.
In New Orleans?
In New Orleans.
Oh no!
In jail! In jail! Yeah!
Pat O'Brien's. 3 sheets to the wind, man.
Right.
Holding up our hurricane glasses.
Right. Oh man, you got to send that on. We got to share that with the guy.
I'm gonna post
That
it.
was it. That's when we landed at the we were staying at the Naval Air Station, weren't we?
Yes, we were.
That was a great time.
Oh yeah.
Well, Jack, maybe you could share it with us or something. But for the guys that want to go, I know you've got albums and you've done recordings, and we could get some of your music that way. But maybe share with us an email or something so we could kind of look at listen to some of your other stuff you've done.
Oh, I'll tell you, if you go to my poor decrepit website, it's www.jackmouse.com. It's got sound samples of all the recordings and some videos and
Okay.
some embarrassing photos. And
Excellent.
Hey, Jack, if you'll send that to me, Tom Wells again, and I know John was making a note there too, I'll get that out in an email to the group.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'd love to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the interest of time, let's move on real quick. I wanted to mention, and Jack, thanks for that. I really appreciate your coming out and mentioning that to us.
I've been wanting to jump on one of these for a long time, and this was a good night for me to do that.
Yeah, excellent. Well,
Glad you made it, Jack.
Thank
Maybe
you.
sometime, Jack, we could trade some paradiddles again.
hey,
Hey, Bob, I thought you only did those paradiddles on the back of the bus seats as we were traveling.
I did.
He's
All the way.
been doing that since the early
remember-
60s.
I don't know what it is, but everywhere I go, I can't stop tapping. I'm always playing some kind of drum part of my entire drum corps career.
Bob, they have medicine for that, you know.
Yeah. I have some for you, John.
Bob Moravec.
Do you see that?
Ray Hoover, and Tyler. And all three of those guys
Hey, there's
could play
Paul.
things on a pillow. I couldn't play on a drum. I mean, that was
All right, so
amazing.
Wait a second, yeah, John. Jack, was that Jack?
Those were three amazing snare drummers. Those are the three best snare drummers I ever heard in my life.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Well, you have to get out more, Jack.
It could be.
Well, Jack, you were a dynamite cymbal player too.
Yes.
I want to tell you,
I wasn't big enough.
Oh, man.
Things got heavy.
Okay, so moving along here, I just want to mention this. We talked about it before, but Mike Embry is going to be playing at Arlington on November 7th. So, you know, he'll probably post some stuff about it. I'm sure he will. So we'll share that with you in future. And then I don't know, Al and Tom, do you guys have any updates on the museum and donations and stuff you need to cover, or do you want to wait till the next month?
Why don't we, hey, Al, if you're not offended, let's just wait. Al put together and started compiling quite a list of stuff which has not been sent to Bill Ives yet. And so I would recommend we take a hiatus until we get some more stuff done.
Okay.
Yeah, John, basically, and just to bring it, and as Tom said, we're still working on it, but there is so much stuff that that is available, and we don't want to send 27 copies of the same picture.
Yeah, I got
So
you.
what we're trying to do is coordinate and get a master list put together, I guess you'd call it, and then we just go from there and see what we can come up with. Because we've got pictures, we've got recordings, we've got patches, we've got all sorts of stuff.
Where do we send that stuff, Al?
Well, there's a place, what used to be the Archer Epler Musketeers in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. That's where they're housing the museum now, is in their VFW post.
I mean, how do we get them to you guys? I mean, I've got those two pictures of Marky,
If not to step on Al, if you want to send it to me, you can. I'm the closest to Philly, and
Okay.
when the day comes, I'll be getting up there.
Okay.
Hey,
That picture looks like.
I've just started making up like a
horn
spreadsheet
at
of
the
all the
NASCAR
stuff I
track.
have and send that. And then Roy's got a bunch of stuff plus all the recordings that he had. Tom's got a bunch of stuff that different people are sending. So we want to try to consolidate and do it the right way, so that we do a very reputable job of doing it without a bunch of crap going to them.
Yeah. Well, the two pictures I've got, I think, as you might recall, Joan took those.
Okay, yeah, definitely we'd want those, right?
Snapshots, yeah.
Hey, Tim Baker.
Yes.
Do you think they got the idea for this picture from you?
I did.
That's his horn.
I was looking for my horn.
That's the one from the NASCAR track.
Or was that our gig in Indianapolis?
No, that was NASCAR.
Hey, what was the place? Was it NASCAR? We played at a famous place, not Talladega, but someplace in the South. And I remember that infield was just covered with campers and beer.
It was Rockingham.
South Carolina, I think.
It was Rockingham before they tore it down.
Okay. Okay.
All right, Tom, you think we should postpone this too until the next one?
Well, let me yap for just a second and then toss it over to Roy and Al. Roy sent out some thoughts. I took a look at it, made a couple of edits. Al's taken a look at it, made a couple of recommendations, and we're going to try and link back up. And I think probably the most difficult thing is trying to find number one, we want to have the information correct, but actually the heading for the page itself needs to be succinct, and this is not succinct yet. Roy Perez, would you like to weigh in on that?
Well, no, I think you said it. You know, the header of the page, that's where we want to encompass, of course, the Washington D.C., the Academy, and the pipe band. You make a header, it's like a book. You know, you got to make it short, but it says everything. So I got to leave that up to you guys how you want to post it. Like someone searching it on Facebook, they're not going to type in U.S. Air Force Bowling, Air Force Base, U.S. Air Force, Colorado pipe. You know, they're not. All that stuff is going to be a lot. If you start type a space or a dash, it gets out of sync on the search title. I think keeping it simple, U.S. Air Force, Bugle Corps, and pipe band, and then from there, it's going to be combined. So my idea is when we start uploading documentation, there's going to be folders. So the folder will pertain to each group. We can even go by year if we
Scared me, Bob.
But
I realized why I wasn't on video. I had my damn camera blocked.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah. Life is hard, man.
I thought it was Facebook that was blocking you.
Hey, John.
So back to
Still number one, John.
So back to Brother Perez here.
I'm sorry.
Well said, the hard part is when someone shares something to Facebook is to specifically tell them, please go to an album and add to the album. Now, if they don't, that's no big deal. But as long as they put a description on each picture, memento, document, in our search page up in the Facebook page, there's a search box. And if you write in the right search words, all the items that pertain to those words like Colorado, everything will pop up.
Yeah.
There's tons of it. It's pretty handy. A lot of people don't know how to use that search. They always ask them, show me a picture of such and such. And you know, and I can't go look like in drum corps history, there must be 30,000 pictures now. And a lot of guys upload it and they upload 5 pictures, but they only put the caption on one and all the rest don't get captions. You got to do each picture, go back and do an edit. But anyway, it's getting there. We just got to get the header right, a little bit more information on, I guess, the starting dates. I was reading one program from 1967 and it had what year it started. Then we read something else and it had a different year and different members. I'm trying to find a document that the U.S. Congress gave a proclamation to U.S. Air Force. And I believe that document, I'm going to go through the congressional archives of, I guess it's in the somewhere in Congress. I could barely read out the screenshot of where I took this congressional plaque. I think the plaque will have the more accurate information, as it had to be accurate to be supplied to Congress. At the is a proclamation of acknowledgement of the Washington D.C. and I think the Academy Corps. I'm not sure. Like I say, I got to read it. But if you guys know where it's at or have a copy, shoot one to Tom or Al or to me. And that will probably have the most clearest information.
So
History.
Bob Zarfos, 1949 is the starting date, though.
Yeah, it is. I'm not sure about the 10 drummers and 18 bugles. I have pictures from 49 and all those pictures suggest the Corps was running 70 people perhaps, and eventually got cut back to 60 when I got there. But
well, we can straighten
some
that
point
part
dropped to
out. We can
48
straighten that
when
part out.
when they took out the pipers. But I never saw anything with 10 and 18.
Yeah, it was on the program starting in 1967, 68, 69. I seen them on the West Coast programs, you know, that I have. That's where it has. But no big deal. You know, we'll you guys dial it in and you put what you want, and that's good. You know, we can change it a little bit later. We can always do edits.
Roy, I like your suggestion of use the KISS method, keep it simple on the title. And I would go with that thing you suggested, U.S. Air Force Academy Drum Bugle Corps. How'd you say it? I can't remember now. It's been so long ago, I can't remember.
Well, and pipe band, I guess if they're going to be included with it.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah. Leave Academy out and just put U.S. Air Force Drum and Bugle Corps and Pipe Band.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, right. It's Al. That's one of the things we're running into is how do we identify all three organizations, keep them in somewhat of a chronological order, even though the DC Drum Corps, at least my understanding, the DC Drum Corps and Pipe Band were together, but the Pipe Band was also a standalone. And then the Academy Corps, if you notice that date that's on that page with the big yellow and a lot of question marks, you know, we were told in November of 73 it was over, but a lot of the information says it was December of 73 before it was officially disbanded, I guess you want to call. And yet some things say it was early 74 before it was officially disbanded. So we're still trying to figure out, and like Roy said, I mean, he found this congressional report, but where is it? You know, the scanned copy of what he was able to find is basically unreadable. So, you know, is it in the Library of Congress? Is it someplace else? Can we find it?
What do you think there's
It
some
would be in
official
the National
document
Archives.
at the Academy itself? There could be something official at the Academy.
Well, I even checked with the Academy Band people to see if they had anything, although they're now out at Peterson Air Force Patch. They're not at the Academy, but to see if there was anything in any of those files that maybe we could get a copy of, or something that would say something about when the Corps was moved out there.
I'm thinking maybe someone in the command group at the Academy.
Yeah.
That might be an idea too. Yeah.
What I have, I could barely read. It says 108th Senate. 108th, but the year. And I think I was looking at 73. But, you know, man, you know, those guys in Congress, they pass those congressional things hour after hour. It could be if someone's, you know, just, it's proclamations, but just to find it, you know, the right date. So I've been starting January on the 100th congressional, but I'm not sure if I got the right years going.
Hey, Roy, I think you might find the year on that thing coinciding with when we had the reunion in Scranton, which was 2003. And then we had a little get together at the Springs. I don't know if it was the same year or if it was 2004.
2004.
Was it 4?
Yeah.
And it was during the football season because we did something with the cadet corps on the field.
Now another question, you know, we're getting back to, we're talking about how to keep it all separate. Unfortunately, it's not a web page where you can go to all these menus, like a menu and a sub menu, and then goes strictly to the pipe band, strictly to bowling, strictly to the academy.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Facebook doesn't work like that. It's like it's turning over day after day. A picture will pop up. It'll be highlighted until someone posts something, and then it starts dropping down, and it becomes a big conglomerate kind of thing. It's not really a encyclopedia. It's sort of, well, it's here, it's there. You might have to go back 3 months to read an article, unless you find it in the box. So we got to accept that that's the way it's going to be on Facebook. If we had a web page, well, then you'd have to host it, pay a hosting service, and then you got to have a webmaster, and I'm not know how to be a webmaster to put all that together. Normally you hire someone, but the Facebook, for what it does,
Well, guys, I think we should stay with the Facebook because that enables everybody to be able to contribute as opposed to a website with all the restrictions on how to post and everything else. But since you guys this is going to be a joint private group, so we'll be able to control who's asking for membership, and then also the posting, the administrator, can work with that. So I'm wondering if, in the interest of time tonight, can I propose that you three guys, I mean, you're doing a great job. This is something we need to do, but can you guys take some of the further things that need to be done and then come back to us next month or before then with an update like you've been doing?
Yeah,
I think that's our best bet, John, because I mean, it's we got to chew this elephant one bite at a time. So,
Right.
I mean, there's so much stuff out there, and
Yeah.
how do we limit how many people are able to just post a bunch of crap out there? And, we don't want people saying bad things because we piss somebody off. Not that we would ever do that.
50 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be very careful with this and make sure that we're doing it the right way, but we also want to be very careful in what we're putting out there.
Yeah.
Not only on the Facebook page, but also on the stuff that, if we're going to be able to send some stuff to the museum, again, we want to be very careful on what we're doing.
A lot of those sites on Facebook, the whatever you call them, the head guy at that site, he puts the thing in there right away. There's no politics, no religion. We won't take any, blah, blah.
Right, Zuckerberg.
Yeah. And
whoever's administrators on this will have that control to filter what it is that goes out and who joins, etc. So go ahead.
This is Tom. So I would suggest, I think we're right, because we can run this discussion for 3 more hours tonight. So Al and Roy and I will continue working and try and get the banner wording right to start with, and then move on to the text part of it to make sure the history lines up properly and kind of move forward from there. And Roy's done a great job with his other pages and groups of addressing those issues that you're concerned about as far as politics and religion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and hate groups and whatnot. And basically, steal what's been done that works and move on. Unfortunately, we're not going to make our November 1st target date. So we'll just back it up another month and go, we're going to shoot for December 1st this time.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw one more thing in there, Tom. If you guys notice on the first sentence of that paragraph, this is a tribute page. I mean, we want to make sure it is a tribute page and not a bunch of crap.
Right. That's something we control.
Right.
All right, guys, I'm going to.
So put it on hold for now, John.
All right. Thank you, guys. I don't want to diminish your efforts, but I do want to give Paul some time here. So let's move right on to what promises to be a very interesting getting to know Paul Olivier. I put a few of his background notes that he and I talked about, but I did not even know about when he was at the academy. But he was a student at the Juilliard School of Music
Wow,
before.
I just saw that. That's, God,
Yeah,
that's
trumpet player.
big time.
And he wound up in the Lackland Drum and Bugle Corps as, he was one of the NCOs there for a little while in charge. And then, of course, he came to the academy. And then after the academy, he went in and was very involved in television business, communications, entertainment, and had his own company and a CEO. But tonight, we want to give Paul the chance to explain and talk to us about a particular event in his life. And so I'm going to turn it over to Paul right now. And he's given me some slides. So together, we'll kind of walk you through what promises to be a very intriguing, amazing story. So, Paul, you with us?
Yes, I am.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. The circumstances of July 19th, 1989 were really unbelievable. I woke up that morning at 4 a.m. with plans to board a 6 a.m. flight out of Stapleton Airport in Denver. When I got to the airport, I found out that the DC-10 that I was supposed to take on that 6 o'clock flight had slid off the runway the night before, and they had canceled that 6 o'clock flight. So they said, well, we think we can get you on this 8 o'clock flight. And when I got to the gate, they were already fully booked and didn't have any spots on that flight. They then told me, well, we can get you on a later flight. And ultimately, I went through 3 different flights before I got on to flight 232, which was set to depart Denver at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My trip was to go from Denver to Chicago and Chicago to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I was building a television studio for Time Inc., Time Warner Cable. And I was going in just to do the final finishes for the studio. And, you know, it was just one of those things on how I ended up on that flight. We can go on to the next slide. Yeah, you know, when you're a musician, you want to get on the front page of the Rolling Stone. But, you know, I ended up on the front page of Life magazine.
That you?
That's me up in the corner.
Wow.
What had happened since I was doing this work for Time Inc. and Time Warner, yeah, word got around to corporate that I was on that flight. And what they did was they asked me if they could come in and interview me while they had a reporter and a camera person in Sioux City. And, you know, having been in the television business and television news business and everything, I said, certainly, I don't have a problem with that. And so that's how I ended up there. That edition came out in September, on September 11th, 1989, which would have been a couple months after the crash itself. We can go on to the next slide. That's the DC-10 that I was on. As you can tell, it's an extremely large plane. And we had a fantastic crew on that flight. And I've since gotten to know every crew member. That only one crew member did not survive the crash. But everybody else I've gotten to know really, really well. And We get together occasionally. The last time was 2 years ago for the memorial services of Al Haynes, the pilot of that flight. We can go on to the next slide now, John. We ended up taking off from Denver at 2:09 p.m. That's the time wheels up. And we were well into an hour into the flight over Alta, Iowa, when the number 2 engine failed. It was really surprising and scary. At first, it sounded like someone had set off a bomb in the back of the plane. I was sitting in seat 33B, so I was able to look back to the back of the plane, and everything seemed to be intact as far as the interior cabin of the plane. The engine failure consisted of the fan jet breaking apart.
Wow.
And
Is that the rear one, Paul?
That's the rear one.
At the
That's
tail?
the one up on the tail.
Wow.
And what happened was when that fan jet broke apart, it took out the hydraulic system of the plane.
Right.
So they did not have any control whatsoever. All they could do was move the thrusters to sort of change the speed and altitude of the aircraft. And we took well over 40 minutes to circle around and around and around and around till we were able to get to the Sioux Gateway Airport. During that time, it was very interesting. When the engine first failed, it scared everybody in the cabin. There were people screaming and yelling, and finally, Al Haynes, the pilot, came on the intercom and said, "We're okay. We're going to continue on to Chicago, but we might arrive there a little late because we've lost our number 2 engine." At that point in time, it sounded like everything was going to be okay, but that's before they realized that all the hydraulic fluids were being drained from the aircraft. And that's when they started to realize that they didn't have any control of the aircraft. At the time, we were at about 37,000 feet, and we were going about 240 knots as far as the speed was concerned. So that's the direction of the flight, and that's how we ended up at the airport. At the airport that was really unusual because the only place we could line up on was a closed runway, and it had been closed since the 50s. So you had to take what you could get. We had no choice where the crew had no choice where they could line up. But during that time, that 40 minutes or so, from the time of the engine failure till the time we made it to the airport, they continued. They were in the process of serving lunch when the engine failed. They continued to serve lunch. And I can remember I had this baseball-sized bun with some meat and lettuce in it, pretzels and a cookie. And then this flight attendant came by and she said, "Would you like to have something to drink?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "I'll have a vodka." And then I said, make that a double. So she went back to the cart and brought me back two of those little bottles of vodka that they serve on the plane. And she was shaking like crazy. It was unbelievable how she was shaking. She was scared stiff. And I looked up at her and said, you know, I think you need this more than I do, but jokingly. And she and I have been best friends ever since. We've had a number of vodkas together, I could tell you. We could go on to the next slide, John. Sitting next to me on the plane was a young girl, Nina, who was from the Chicago area. This was only her second flight. She had flown to Colorado to visit her aunt, and she was flying back to Chicago to spend that evening celebrating her 16th birthday with her parents. She spent a lot of time talking after the engine blew, and I kept telling her, don't worry, we'll be okay. I said, you know, when I was in the Air Force, there was a thing called the buddy system. And I said, we'll be able to work together and get off this plane. We looked at all the exits. We decided which one would be for us, which one would be our second option, which one would be our third option, etc. I told her, you know, if the cabin fills up with smoke, just grab on my belt loop in the back, and we'll work our way out of here. We can move on to the next slide now, John. And we can roll this video now.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure the volume is up, so hang on a minute.
Okay.
And just for everybody, John did send out, there is a link to this Nightline thing that he's getting ready to show now. It's about 20 minutes long, but
I watched
it's a
that
very,
today.
very interesting article it's on YouTube. If you guys get a chance to see it, it goes into a little more detail of what Paul's talking about.
Into the kind of cartwheels it did.
And I remember thinking, Lord, don't let me be sucked out of the plane.
112 people died in the crash of United Flight 232. 184 survived. It happened a year ago, but for many survivors, it might as well have been yesterday.
Every day it seems like something's there to remind me, or I'll jog it by myself in my memory. Every day.
We'll hear their stories tonight.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from New York, Chris Wallace.
Imagine for just a moment that you were in a terrible plane crash and were lucky enough to survive. Well, what then? Would you lead your life any differently? How would you deal with the fact that you survived and that teenage girl sitting right next to you did not? Would you ever get on a plane again? Now imagine that you were sitting safely on the ground while a friend or relative was killed in a crash. What then? How would you deal with the sudden and violent loss? Would you ever get on a plane again? The people we'll talk with tonight don't have to imagine. 1 year ago, their lives were changed forever by the crash of United Airlines Flight 232. Many of us vaguely remember that as the crippled DC-10 that was nursed by a brave pilot to an airport in Sioux City, Iowa, and then crashed into a cornfield. But as you'll see tonight, the people who lived through that terrible ordeal remember every bit of it.
United 232 Heavy, Sioux City. We have no hydraulic fluid, which means we have no elevator control, almost none, and very little aileron control. I have serious doubts about making the airport.
I was on United 232 because I was returning from a business trip. And in fact, I changed planes because it was my son's birthday, his 9th birthday. And I was scheduled on a later flight. And I had changed planes to that aircraft, hoping to get home earlier so that I could be here for dinner on his birthday.
I came on the plane because I had just gotten done visiting my sister in Colorado for our summer vacation, and there were 4 of us, and we sat in the back section of the plane.
Come up here.
And we kind of joked about how we were angry, like that we got seated in the back, and you know, who would have ever thought that it would have made such a difference?
I heard a loud explosion which woke me up, and I opened my eyes, and I saw in front of me that some flight attendants who had been clearing the trays away had been knocked down to the floor of the cabin.
One of the flight crew from the cockpit came back, came to the row in front of us and looked out, and the officer was looking out towards the rear of the plane. After looking out towards the rear of the plane, he turned around and looked at us and said, "We're going to hit hard. We're going to come down. We're going to hit hard." He said, "Pay real close attention to the emergency briefing." And he went immediately back up to the cockpit.
Then another announcement was made about 4 minutes before we hit the ground, indicating that it would be a hard landing, possibly a very hard landing, and that we should be prepared for the worst.
I was terrified inside. I was all shaky. It was really weird, and my brain was going 100 miles an hour.
And the captain gave information that we were 4 minutes to touchdown.
I decided to take off my necktie, and I guess I just didn't like the idea of having something tight around my neck.
2 minutes to touchdown.
I closed my eyes, and I started to pray.
30 seconds to touchdown.
Inside, I knew that this could be my last moments.
It all felt pretty much like a normal approach. The only thing that was really different was that there were people crying. And there were people praying.
And then suddenly we hit the ground. And we hit the ground so hard that I felt myself knocked out of my brace position. But I remember thinking then, thank God we made it, because I thought in my mind that we would either hit the ground hard and we'd all die instantly, or that we would hit the ground hard and we'd be okay. But what I wasn't expecting was that we would hit the ground hard, and then we would hit it again, and again, and again.
My head kept flipping back, and I couldn't hold on. You know, I was trying to, all I could, trying to hold on with all my might and trying to be as, you know, not let my head flip up, but it did. It kept flipping up, and so I'd see all these flashes, and I'd see the things hitting me. I'd see, you know, debris coming in and out, and eventually it stopped.
I unfastened my seatbelt and I dropped to the ceiling of the plane. And passengers around me were also moving their way towards that opening. And I stepped out of the opening and into the dirt, and I realized that I was in the middle of a cornfield.
The whole area next to the aircraft was strewn with debris, and with people. There were a lot of injured people. There were a lot of dead people.
The family next to me, I believe the mother was killed. One of the people in the seat in front of me was killed. The people in the seat behind me were killed.
We got to the hospital, and it was just a madhouse. Everybody was, you know, trying to get everybody everywhere.
We tend to feel, as emergency room nurses, and maybe myself, that I had become calloused over the years. I had seen everything. Well, I hadn't seen everything.
The doctors came in, and they started scrubbing me because I had tar and debris, and it hurt so bad. and they numbed it some, but I could still feel it. And they had to do it there in the room because there wasn't enough operating tables.
That next morning, in the light of day, when I could see two people who died arm in arm. There was love in the body right there. There was a symbol of love with the arms around and frozen in that position in death.
It seems so strange being out here. It seems so desolate. And I guess my life the last year hasn't really gone on to the next phase. And I think this was important, so I could do that. I'll probably come back and visit people, but I don't think I'll come back and mourn. I don't think I'll relive that day again. Not here.
When we come back, we'll talk with one of the passengers from United Flight 232, with one of the flight attendants, and with the son of a passenger who was killed in the crash.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by U.S. Sprint.
How's that, Paul? Is that what you wanted to run?
Yep, that's all I wanted to run for right now.
Wow, that was powerful.
God bless you, Paul. Jeez, I can't believe anybody would survive that thing. Look at that. What a mess.
Anybody else that wants to see the rest of this, you have the link. There's probably another 15, 20 minutes included in that, where Wallace is asking us all different types of questions. Unlike some of the other passengers, Nina and I weren't so lucky. We were not able to walk out of the aircraft. We were sitting in that area right there where that flame is, where the tail section broke off. The main portion of the fuselage and the cockpit kept going forward, and eventually the cockpit broke off and went in one direction, and the main fuselage, which included the first class section and about, I want to say, 20 rows of the 20 rows in all, kept going forward, and eventually flipped up on the front end of it, taking out almost everybody that was sitting in first class.
Wow. Paul, I'm wondering why they didn't jettison the fuel.
There's a shutoff point when that they had been dropping off fuel the whole time. There's a shutoff point where you can't release any more fuel.
Oh.
And that's why there was still fuel. And what happened was, as we were coming down, we hit this closed runway. And if you saw in that videotape, you know, it had been closed for quite a while, because you could see all the grass that was growing on that closed runway. The wingtip, as we were coming in, we received somewhat of a gust of wind, which turned us up a little bit, and it caused the right wingtip to embed itself in the runway. I've been back there twice where that runway is, and I've been back there twice and have seen where that wingtip hit. And there's about an 18-inch hole right through the concrete where the wing hit. And as the plane broke apart, I obviously broke loose from my seat. And from the height of the plane to the ground was probably 20, 25 feet. And so I went flying down onto the ground, of course, rolling. And at that point, at some point during that period of time, I lost consciousness. But they tell me they found my seat about 100 yards away from where they found me. When I finally came through on the ground, I could hear people talking all around me. I could hear sirens, and I thought to myself, well, they'll find me. I wasn't able to move whatsoever. I had broken ribs, a collapsed lung, a broken collarbone, broken knee, broken foot. I had burns on my face, hands, shoulder. And so as I laid there on that runway, I kept thinking to myself, well, I'm sure there's people that need more help than I do. And I, trying to be, I was thinking, I'll just be macho about this and just lay here till someone comes. Well, when no one was coming, that's when I finally decided to say, help, help, I'm over here. And then some folks came up. That's the way the debris field looked like. What you see there is all kinds of paper. All these people traveling, they all had briefcases. I had a briefcase. Well, all those things came apart. And so the field was covered with paper and metal. And so there you can see sort of what that looked like. And what you're looking at on the left-hand side of the screen is the tail section. That's the section where the most amount of people at point of the tail were able to survive.
The tail.
Now, unfortunately, you can see where that broke, and I was just sitting forward to that break. So, the plane just disintegrated under me, sending me straight to the ground. There were a lot of people there that were prepared for this because they knew 40 minutes prior to this crash that the plane was headed there to Sioux City and to the Sioux City airport. They were able to get all the emergency people in place. And fortunately enough, 2 years earlier, they had an exercise there at the airport. And that exercise consisted of what was supposed to be a major jumbo jet crashing at Sioux City Airport. Well, at the time, the head of the emergency management for the county ridiculed for that because they said, there's no such thing as a jumbo jet ever landing in Sioux City. But he convinced all the neighboring communities and so forth to take part in this exercise, which meant ambulance crews, fire departments, all the local hospitals, everybody involved in this disaster exercise. So when this happened, everybody was prepared. What they weren't prepared for, however, is all the emergency equipment was lined up on the runway which we landed on.
Oh, no.
Well, when they saw that the plane was headed towards that runway, fortunately enough, they were able to all move the equipment off the runway and away from that. So there was some luck involved with that. And when you talk to Al Haynes, he will tell you that as they were going in, they could see all this equipment moving off that runway to make way for that plane. It was really unbelievable. What I can say is, you know, after hitting the ground and with all those injuries that happened to me, I wasn't in pain. There was absolutely no pain. I didn't feel any pain whatsoever. And that was, yeah, I don't know why, but I wasn't experiencing pain at that point in time.
Your body knows how to protect itself.
Yeah, well, maybe it was the 2 vodkas I had.
Could be.
But you can see here, this is a diagram of the aircraft, and it shows all those people that survived. It indicates those people that did not survive. And as you can see from 33B, you can see people behind me, some people in front of me, and the young 16-year-old girl that the two of us had planned to get off of that aircraft. She didn't survive either.
So you had 115 died? Oh, there you go. 112 died. 184 survived.
Wait, what seat were you in?
32B.
33B.
33B.
Oh, we can't go back and see it.
So the other thing that was unusual about this flight,
32.
it was
Here. That's it right
I thought
there.
he said 33. Oh.
over 33B. It's over on the bottom side, over in here.
I was gonna say the other side, a lot of people passed away.
Yep. As you can see, a lot of people passed away in front of me.
Yeah.
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 That one.
Okay.
A lot of people in that first class section, the ones that were there, all the seats weren't occupied, of course. Didn't make it.
Were all just one pilot died, or they all died?
No, the whole cockpit crew survived.
They survived.
Although they were badly injured. We had one lucky thing that happened. During that flight, there was a DC-10 check was flying in first class, and named Denny Finch. And Denny went up to the cockpit and asked them if they needed some help or if there was anything he could do. And because they were having so hard a time controlling the aircraft, they asked him if he could take over the throttles, which he did. And the way he maneuvered the aircraft and the way they were able to move it back and keep it flying was he was able to up one throttle while bringing the other one down and then switching that fourth. And so that kept us somewhat level. During the entire time, the aircraft was porpoising, where it goes it goes up and down and up and down. But you really couldn't feel that back in the cabin. I felt this is going to be just another regular landing. I thought everything was going to be okay. For the following year, till I went back to Sioux City, I was going through so much guilt because I truly believed that I may have had something to do with his not being able to make it. And the reason I thought that was because I kept telling her everything was going to be okay. I was telling myself maybe I let her guard down or something. So it wasn't until I went back to Sioux City the following year when they had a memorial service, was I able to speak to the people on the ground that helped me out. I was able to see, everything about the crash, and spoke to the flight crew. And only then did I start realizing that the difference between life and death in that section where I was how you landed on the ground, what hit you as you were being thrown out of the plane, how it hit you, and so forth. And it wasn't until then that I realized that there was nothing I could have done to make anything different under those type of circumstances. So, but still, I still live through this thing almost on a daily basis. That photograph you see there is Al Haynes. He was the pilot. He passed away 2 years ago. We were fortunate enough to have some of the crew convince the United Airlines CEO that they should fly out as many survivors and their families as possible to Al Haynes's memorial service in Seattle. And they did that. They flew us all out to Seattle for that memorial service. What you see here was during the 25th reunion of the survivors. And that's me on the left. Pete Warnick is in the middle. Pete is a banjo player with the band Hot Rise. If you're a bluegrass fan, you know who Hot Rise is. He's also known as Dr. Banjo. And the woman there is Susan White. And she's the flight attendant that brought me the vodka. At the time, she was only 23 years old. So you can imagine, this scared stiff flight attendant at 23. But that was a gathering that we had in Sioux City.
Did she go back to work after that?
It took her about a year to go back to work after that.
Oh, but she did.
She did.
Oh.
And she's still flying. And this is the flight crew here. All of the survivors of the flight crew, with the exception, of course, of Al Haynes, this was at his memorial service. As you can see, Susan's there in the middle. You have Dudley Dvorak, who was the engineer. Tim Price over on the left, the tall African-American. He and Susan were working the section of the aircraft that I was sitting in. And we've gotten together several times, once at Susan's house. As a matter of fact, on 2 years ago, on July 19th, we had a 30-year reunion of the survivors, and that was held at Susan's house. And everybody that you see there was at that reunion. And in addition to that, Al Haynes was planning on flying out to be at that reunion, but the night before he was going to fly into Denver, he ended up in the hospital. So,
Paul, did United Airlines take care of you for that year? You got to work, obviously.
Well,
any financial assistance to you?
Only while I was in the hospital in Sioux City. I'll mention a little about that. This here are all the survivors who were present at Al Haynes's memorial service. And you can see me right there in the first row. After I spent well over a month in the Sioux City Hospital, first in intensive care, then critical care. And one of the things they did was they flew my parents out, they flew my kids out, they flew Joanne out. As a matter of fact, the night of the crash, they contacted her and said, "You got 30 minutes to get to the Colorado Springs. We're going to fly you to Sioux City." For the entire time I was there, my parents flew back and forth from Providence maybe 5 times. Joanne several times from Colorado Springs. And I underwent some surgeries in Sioux City. And then when they thought I was well enough to be transported back to Colorado Springs, United got a jet ambulance with a crew, with nurse on board and everything. And they flew me back into Colorado Springs. From there, for the first couple months, I was at home, but had to undergo additional surgeries. But at the same time, I had a nurse in my home 24 hours a day. They would, there'd be 3 a day that would show up. When it was time for one to go home, another one would come in. And that lasted up until late September, early October. My biggest concern was, I had a company to run, I had a payroll to make, and none of that was, I wasn't receiving anything for that. So in the meantime, Joanne and I found an attorney named Dick Shadden, who was from Boulder, and his specialty was airline crashes. That's all he did. And he convinced United to start paying for some of those expenses. My mortgage expense, for instance, my utilities, and so forth, till I was up and able to get back on my feet. But once that happened, everything shut off. And it took till 2000, no, it took till late 1991 or early 92 for them to work out a settlement. But during that time, it was really crazy. They brought in attorneys from McDonnell Douglas, Alcoa Aluminum, GE, and United. And I went through 2 days of questioning. I mean, I was only a passenger.
What the hell are they questioning you about?
Yeah, you know, they were
Looking to be alive, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, you know, but I went through 2 days of depositions, 8 hours a day, and that was pretty brutal.
Brutal. That's terrible.
Well, you know, these things work that way. But ultimately, a joint settlement was agreed to, and that joint settlement involved United, Alcoa Aluminum, GE, you know, all those involved taking joint responsibility for the crash. So they said, you know, we're not going to point our finger at GE. We're not going to point our finger at McDonald or at the airline manufacturer. We're all going to take this and we're going to spread that blame across all of us. One of the things they found during the investigation is that plane was 15 years old, but they checked those fan jets every 3 years, and they do metallurgical measurements on it, and they see if there are any cracks or anything like that. And somehow there was a crack. It wasn't really reported. But what was much more unusual is that same year that the DC-10 was built, there was a KC-10 Air Force Steamer that was being built, and it received the fan jet to go in its number 2 engine, and the Air Force rejected that fan jet. What was so unusual is the serial number for that fan jet was the same serial number that was in the DC-10 that I was on.
No.
Oh,
That's unreal.
You know, they kept saying, you know, it's going to be a mistake. We must have done 2 fan jets with the same serial number. You know, excuse after excuse. But, you know, very few people know about that. The reason I know about it is it came out during the settlement talks. So.
Hope you got 7 figures plus.
Well, you know, unfortunately, I can't tell you who.
We don't want to know. Just.
But at the same time,
big number.
It's not near enough. It's not near enough. I mean, since then, I've had 3 back surgeries. The knee that was broken in that crash, I've had to have that knee replaced. I've lost my sense of smell, and that happened because of the crash. That happened during the crash because my head banged around and the fibers that go from your nose to your brain. They're very, very small, and when they're severed, there's nothing that they can do to bring those back. So I've been without smell now for 32 years. I can tell you, it's been helpful in some places that I've gone.
Yeah.
I was in, outside of Hong Kong, and there was raw sewage going into this creek, and everybody that I was with was complaining how much it stunk. And fortunately, I didn't have to deal with that. So, at any rate, are there any more slides?
Paul, there's this slide which is Captain Al Haynes giving a lecture on how they had to handle that entire, critical problem. And we'll send this link, this YouTube link out to you, but I watched it, and it gives you such an insight into exactly what the crew had to do to, even keep the plane as it was. Even it's incredible to watch. And I was telling Paul before this, I said, man, that guy's like that Scully who landed the plane in the Hudson, And according to Paul, I think, isn't this right? You said Scully came to his memorial or something?
That's correct. Scully was there. I wanted to talk to Scully while he was there, but I did he left before everything was over. He spoke for a good 10, 15 minutes at the memorial service. And I wanted to talk to him because he was at the Air Force Academy in 1972. Well, they're playing Noon Tune for him.
Guys, do you remember the trip we took to Maryland where we had some hydraulic fluid on our aircraft go bad, and we landed in Wright-Patterson? Then on the way home, they were going here with the planes, and we had no hydraulic fluid at all, and we almost crashed. And the pilots got out of the plane and kissed the ground. I mean, they were amazing. They were all Air Force Academy graduates that flew that plane. Thank God. But they did the same thing as your guys did.
Well, one of the things that, the reason I thought everything was going to be okay was, when we were at the academy, I remember flying back from San Antonio we were down there for Fiesta, and we had 2 C-54s.
Great aircraft.
Yeah. And the one I was on, outside of, after we had passed Austin, one of the engines caught fire. And we had to make an emergency landing at Shepherd Air Force Base. And I thought, well, able to do that, these guys are this plane. Plus, when I was in the Air Force, I didn't pay for any of those flights.
Yeah.
The other thing, another close call was a C-124 that we took back from Hill Air Force Base. And Tim might remember this because a big box with engine parts or something broke loose, and it hit him, and he ended up going to the hospital after we landed at Pete Field. And that aircraft sat there for a good 6 months till they finally ended up cutting the wings off.
I do remember that.
Piece of crap. Everything we flew was World War II, ready to go to Davis-Monthan. And we were the last damn flight all the time.
Well, that C-124 was on its way.
I was on that flight, Paul. I never seen, I looked out the window and I never seen wings go like this.
Yeah.
And the engine's going like this. I mean, that was, matter of fact, they closed all the flights in Pete in with the Denver airport, Stapleton. And here we go, right through the whole damn thing. Flying all over the place. It was horrible. The worst flight I've ever had.
You know, that's why they call it the Magnificent Men and their Flying Machines.
Right, right.
Right.
And just remember the pieces on the ground part.
Well, hey, listen, I want you guys to know we'll send you out a few other links, but I would encourage you to go as I did when I talked to Paul, and I just went to YouTube and I did a search on United Flight 232, and there's a ton of stuff out there that will blow your mind. It's incredible.
That's an amazing story, I tell you. That's.
God bless you, Paul. I can't believe you made it. I'm glad you did.
Thank you for sharing that.
Questions, feel free to ask. I'll answer a few questions if you have some.
Paul, thanks for sharing that. That's really a moving story. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Virginia, thank you also.
I can't wait to look that up.
Yeah, we'll send this recording out to you guys, and if you want, you can share it, with others in your family and stuff.
Hey, John, it's Al. Can I just add a couple of quick comments?
Yeah.
Jeff said he was willing to help us with all putting the web page together, as well as trying to coordinate some of the stuff for the museum. And Ray, if you could send the pictures either to Tom Wells or to me, or to John Crowder, that we'll put them all together. And then one quick off the wall comment. Jack Mouse, I'm sure you're so happy you joined this group tonight. So hear all the horror stories that you missed a few of them, but you were in on a couple of them. So
A couple of those, yeah.
Yeah, we'll share with you some more as time goes on.
And it's good to see you guys.
Oh, good tune. Good tune.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, Jack, thanks for getting me involved in this thing in the first place.
And Crowder and I in New Orleans. That's going to Facebook.
Well, yeah, I've got the picture. I've got the picture someplace. If you don't have it.
Hey, John, I thought that just happened out in California. That was just that one off. Is that not true?
No, and I appreciate it if you guys would not share that publicly, because I've reformed and I'm a
Yeah, we got someone's uniform that you took care of it, John. And the shoes.
Crowder, my understanding is that Mark Zuckerberg is going to present it to Congress here fairly shortly.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Paul Olivier, I want you to know that some of the guys, they've posted here in the chat, but they said that must have been very difficult for you to relive that, and it's greatly appreciated that you did share that with us. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Paul.
Each time I tell a story, it's somewhat therapeutic.
Well, hope we helped you.
Well, thank you so much.
Most of us did, but
this is probably the 50th time I've told this story to a group. But at the same time, I have a lot of individuals ask me about it. And I let them know what I went through. But again, the most difficult part of all of this was knowing that the young gal that was sitting next to me didn't make it through.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that until about 3 weeks after I was in the hospital. And when that reporter from Life magazine came through, she said, "Is there anything I can do for you?" And I said, "Sure. Let me know what happened to the girl that was sitting next to me." And she came back the next day and told me that she hadn't made it. So that's probably the most difficult part. I've gotten to know her family. I've gotten to know one of her friends that she was in high school with. I visited her family once in Chicago. But that's really difficult when you plan and plan and plan and think that everything is going to be okay, and it doesn't work out that way.
Well, it's a lesson for us all that life is very fragile, and we need to respect that and always let the people we love, let them know it, because you just never know what's next in store. Guys, we need to wrap this up, but we need to. I'm going to reach out to John Ganguza and Paul Mayer. Also have volunteered to give us some background on their life before or after the Corps or whatever. And, so it doesn't have to be as fancy as what Paul did. But we invite you all to feel like you want to share, we get to know each other better. Like I found out things about Paul, Juilliard School of Music. I mean, here we served together and I didn't even know that, so there's stuff we can find out all the time.
Oh, was it a little letdown going from Juilliard to Lackland Air Force Base Drum and Bugle Corps?
Get me out of Vietnam.
Well, yeah. You do. I go anywhere.
Familiar story for a lot of us.
He also didn't mention that he played trumpet with some of the stage bands for some of the TV stuff too.
Yeah, that's what he told me. He played. Doc Severinsen invited you to play in the Tonight Show band, right?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Did you go?
Yeah, I was a backup. So whenever one of his trumpet players was on the road or something like that, I would fill in.
Oh shit, that's wonderful. That's incredible.
How come we didn't know that? Yeah.
How much talent do all of us, all the guys in the Corps have? I mean, I've heard tremendous things about Jack and Ben Cardarelli. Now you, my God.
I have 19 grandchildren.
Yeah, besides that,
I've got four great grandchildren.
Yeah.
I've only got
You're
one.
pretty great yourself, Ray, with that collection of trombones.
Hey, speaking of that,
Yeah,
Jeff,
I heard Mike
friends
hit
with
the clap.
trombone.
Hey, John Crowder.
Yeah.
We need to set a date for the next meeting, but before we do that, Paul, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so very much for telling your tale. I know it continues to this day. Something you wouldn't know about me is I've taught about that crash all across the United States because we use that in the hazmat incident management programs that I teach for the National Fire Academy.
How about that?
And FEMA. And so the context and personal scope that you bring to this matters a great deal to me and to the student base I've seen over the years. I thank you so much. And I'm glad you're here to have the conversation.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, really, go out and search it on YouTube. There's some amazing other additional information out there that'll blow you away. Okay, let's look at our calendar for the next month. It looks like we'd be looking at around the 24th of November, Wednesday night, the last Wednesday in November before Thanksgiving. How's that sound to you guys?
I think your wife would probably beat you to death with a drumstick the night before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, do it a week or two later.
We need January, I think.
You want to do it December 1st?
December 1st.
Okay, that'll do. Okay, we'll get that reminder out to everybody. And it's late for you guys on the East Coast. Thanks for hanging in there, but well worth it tonight. Yep.
It's too bad Ben's so shy tonight. But
Yeah, what's going on with Benjamin?
He probably put tape over his camera.
Yeah, like I did.
Ah, there we got his attention.
George hasn't said much either. So.
I'm actually having webcam problems. I have to address that. But yeah, again, Paul, wow, man. I mean, that was very, very moving. And as everyone has already said, much appreciate you coming in and sharing that with us. That was very moving. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Real quick, you haven't been on some of our previous, meetings, but you'd be interested to know that Ben Cottarelli he's a music writer and publisher and all kinds of stuff. I didn't know that about him.
Didn't you write a song for a movie or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I did. The movie was The Longest Ride.
The talent of this group is unbelievable.
Alan Alda was in it, and that. I'm currently working with a lady down in Florida who used to. She's written for the Oak Ridge Boys. She's written for Alabama, and she's been in TV shows and just on all kinds of stuff. I'm currently working on a couple songs with her for Reba McEntire.
Wow.
So we're hoping that comes through, and I'm also doing some more TV commercial stuff, and for American Pickers and Animal Planet. So yeah, I'm pretty busy. I'm usually in my studio here every morning between 6 and 7 o'clock, and I work for about 4 or 5 hours a day, just hammering away.
Wow.
Well, there's no lack of talent, like Bob said. So
amazing.
If anybody's interested, I'm cutting the grass tomorrow.
I think I'll be doing the same
Mike, you got this. You got this, man.
I'll take some pictures and I'll post them next week.
Great.
If you're not too
your butt too. That's
cut mine.
all the guys are telling. What happened to you, John Dye?
A couple things. First of all, I'd like to thank Paul for his presentation tonight, and I consider myself privileged that I've been lucky enough to hear it in person from him. It's quite an ordeal. Two other things. I don't know if anybody, I was wondering if anybody saw Clark McDonald's little video that he put on. I don't know where I saw it, but it's a really interesting video of what he's been doing with his research, his robotics research. And he plays his trumpet in it, and he still has his chops. He really sounds good.
Clark said that to me.
I don't know that name, Clark McDonald. I don't know that.
Clark McDonald, he was after you, Ray.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that on Facebook, Tom?
I think it was on Facebook.
Okay.
Well, he sent it to me via email, but for those that don't know Clark, he's a tall, flat-footed African-American guy that was my roommate on the road for a while.
Yeah.
He really played some good music as background for this story that they put together, his company put together.
All right.
Also, I saw the video of the '68 Macy's parade.
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic. One of the few and best videos of the Corps in their powder blue uniforms.
I was disappointed though, John, looking up the butt of that balloon. That's always.
Oh yeah, no, that
balloon.
I told my family and I told my family and friends, I said, okay, to watch right here at this second or whatever, but you got to look quick. But you'll see is my backside, but that may be the best part of me. So
I don't think I've ever seen a better video though of the Corps marching anywhere, anytime. Yeah. So it really took me back thinking about those uniforms and everything, how sharp they were.
Yeah, they were.
That wasn't '68, right?
That's what this
said.
Give me 68.
Yeah, my first year.
I wasn't there, but
I got in November 1, '68, so I just missed the damn thing.
Is that posted anywhere in social media? That video?
I find it on the Keith Markey page.
Oh, it's there? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put it, I
I think
transferred,
Roy put it out there.
and I think I made a hard copy out of it now, so if you need to share it with somebody who doesn't do Facebook or the web and just want to email it, I could, you could probably ask me and I'll send you a hard file.
Anyway, it was good seeing everybody tonight, and I look forward to the
Yeah.
next one.
Yeah. Take
And as
care,
always,
guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Tim, I didn't get to say hi to you guys, but
Happy Thanksgiving for sure.
As always,
Happy
thank you.
Halloween.
Thank
Happy
you guys for
Hanukkah.
always inviting me.
yeah. Mazel tov, baby.
Mazel tov.
Everybody stay
December
safe.
1st.
Everybody salute. Hey. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Jack Mouse, good seeing you.
Take care, Jackson.
You too, guys.
Great.
You get yourself down to Atlanta, will you? I'll come see you.
I'd love to come to Atlanta.
Really great town, great atmosphere for jazz.
Jack, thanks for
There's a place, Jack, called the Tabernacle.
Really?
That kind of
that's
it's
a-
Tabernacle. It's in Atlanta, and
That's
it's
in, Salt
perfect,
Lake City.
huh?
Salt Lake City, that's where the morning.
There ain't nothing in Salt Lake City. Atlanta is where it is. But this little venue here called the Tabernacle, you ought to look into that.
I
It's a
will.
great venue for your type of
I'll
jazz
Google
band.
it. Yeah.
Good deal.
I
All
love
right,
you guys.
See y'all later. Great seeing you.
Great seeing you guys. Really pleasure. Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
You too.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Good night, John Boy. All right.
Good night, Bob.
All right. See ya.